introduce them first, and we'll go through with names and introductions once we get started. So I'd like to thank Dr. Thompson, members of the board, allowing for us to come to do a quick presentation. This is our Winston Campus Junior High Mariachi Band. This is the second year of the band. Last year was the very first year. Very thankful for all the contributions from many different members of the district, from the district foundation to Department of Instruction. Mary Czar, Dr. Renee Carranza were all very instrumental in bringing resources together to support and get this program off the ground. I'd like to introduce our three directors, Mario Mangello, who is our band director, Lizzie Jordan, who does orchestra, and Bob Moffitt is our music teacher at Winston. All three together, collectively work together. Every one of the students in front of you, except for one, has never touched an instrument prior to this year. This is their very first time. So a normal band and orchestra concerts at the junior high, they've had 4th, 5th, and 6th grade to begin and learn that. This group is the very first year. Actually, their very first performance was in front of 800 students this morning at a concert at school. So this is one of their first public performances. So they have 3 quick songs for you, and then we'll proceed with the meeting. So I'll let it take off with you guys aren't able to move your guitar.
Ponies marching step by step. These are some of the lyrics to Caballitos Marchando. It's from our book, Simplemente Mariachi. Please enjoy.
Caballitos marchando paso a paso es parte de la letra de nuestra canción Caballitos marchando. Es de nuestro libro titulado Simplemente Mariachi que la 1, 2, 3, 4.
Our next song is Arre Burrito, which means the burro from our book Simplemente Mariachi. Hope you enjoy. Nuestra próxima canción es la de nuestro libro Simplemente Mariachi. Espero que la disfruten.
1, 2, 3, 4.
is Poquitas. The polka is a dance form originating in Bolivia that is played in the quick group music. In the 19th century, the polka reached Mexico, and since many Mexicans still look to Europe for their cultural models, local composers began writing original songs, just like the song.
1, 2, 1, 2.
So I just wanted to, this is only 15 of our 28 students. Again, these are 7th and 8th graders. Would now be an okay time for them just to quickly introduce themselves?
Sure.
Okay. You guys just want to go ahead and introduce yourself, your name, your grade, and when you make your play.
I'm Bobby. I'm 7th grade. I'm Amina, 8th grader at
My name is Fernando, and I'm in 8th grade, and I play guitar.
My name is Martin. I'm in 7th grade and I play the ukulele.
My name is William, and I'm in 7th grade and I play guitar.
My name is Christian. I'm 7th grade and I play guitar.
My name is Johnny, and I play the guitar, and I'm 7th grade.
My name is Moises, I'm in 8th grade and I play violin.
My name is Giovanni. I'm in 7th grade and I play violin.
My name is Jennifer. I'm in 7th grade, and I play violin.
My name is John, I'm in 7th grade and I play violin.
My name is Liz, and I'm in 7th grade, and I play guitar. My name is Lily. I'm in 8th grade, and I play guitar.
Me llamo, oh wait.
My name is Miguel, and I'm in 8th grade and I play the trumpet.
My name is Benicio. I'm in 7th grade and I play the trumpet.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you.
Quietly for a minute, they're going to start with the students and we'll do the pledge. Okay.
Can we just say what we're going to say?
Meeting will come to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Babcock,
Here.
Chapman,
Here.
Egbert,
Here.
Khan,
Here.
Morrison,
Here.
Seifert.
Here.
One thing that we are going to start doing is to remind everyone, and especially the board members, to keep in the back of our mind with all of our meetings of what the mission is for District 15. So the mission of School District 15 is to produce world-class learners by building a connected learning community. That's the theme that we carry throughout the meeting. That's the theme that is foremost in our minds. So with that, if you could start with the pledge, we'd love that.
The flag is behind you. Ready?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And that was fantastical. Thank you very much. You've got your hands full, so I'm going to give your light-up pen from the Board of Education. Thank you for coming to Mr. Warren, and he can have somebody pass them out. But thank you very much for coming tonight. Thanks to all the parents and family members.
And just quickly, I know my feet were going, that last song, it was hard to sit here. Muchas gracias, I appreciate it, thank you so much.
And one final thank you to Mr. Mondello, Mr. Moffett, Ms. Nelson, Ms. Jordan, I'm sorry. Thanks for what you guys do for the kids, too. I was involved last night with my son, and my daughter went through Winston, and we're lucky to have you guys, so thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
All right, go ahead. And go ahead.
Gracias.
De nada.
Great job.
Okay, we're going to move into my section, and though Dr. Czar thought she was getting away from the district, we keep bringing her back. She's serving as an interim assistant principal right now, helping out at Whiteley School. She continues to be our director of ISU interns, and she's coming here tonight to introduce her interns. Thanks, Dr. Czar. Sorry to interrupt your evening. I know you were counting on not coming back to board meetings for quite a while.
No, this is my favorite one. Well, Dr. Thompson and Mrs. Babcock and Board of Education, thank you so much for inviting us here tonight. We're very proud of this program that we were able to bring to the district, and without all your support and guidance, we couldn't sustain it. So thank you once again. I'd like to remind everyone that this is our 5th year. This is our 5th class of Illinois State University Professional Development School interns that we're bringing to the district. And our largest class so far, 23 young women, we have spread amongst 7 different schools in the district to support our teachers and our children. And working in the district, we've had the program for 5 years. We have close to 30 former interns working in the district as full-time teachers now. And so we are very grateful to our dedicated staff, our teachers at our schools who have served as mentors and have enabled us to be able to hire such quality individuals. Tonight I'd like to introduce the following girls working this year with their main assignment at Central Road School. And ladies, if you will please stand and remain standing till we introduced everyone. Sarah Dalen, Melissa Machinsky, Kimberly Hemingway, Rebecca Lucchini, and from Hunting Ridge, Grace Rogrizniak, Jessica Clinton, Nicole Hummel. From Graham Sanborn, Melissa Warder, Rebecca Sage, Gabrielle McCarter, Rosalind Gavastis. From Thomas Jefferson, Carolyn Merritt, Jennifer Wheeler, Samantha Kiefer. From Jane Addams, Allison Scala and Morella Harrington. From Winston Campus Elementary, Morgan DeLappa, Kara Kastenholz, Sarah Havansek, Gianna Goldbach. And from Stewart R. Paddock, Caitlin Matos, Amanda Dial, and Elizabeth Capinos. So those are our interns for this year. We look forward to introducing them as new staff to you next year, and I'm sure that many of them will be. Ladies, if you could be seated. The last thing I'm going to ask is, once that you're seated, would those of you who attended District 15 schools please stand? So, and again, this is very pretty heavy impact within our classes as our 5 classes have gone through. We have not had a year that we have not had students return to us who not only got their foundational training in District 15, but are also coming back here to get their final training before being a teacher. Thank you, ladies. The ladies have served this year. They start out their first semester by working in the classroom 3 full days a week and then taking classes 2 full days a week, first semester, and then second semester they serve in our classroom 5 full days a week. And so these young ladies finishing their first semester have not only given to the district 3 full days of working every week, they have also carried between 12 and 16 semester hours this semester. So ladies, thank you for everything you've done, and congratulations on a job well done.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come and let us meet you too. We do appreciate it.
Dr. Czar, thank you for your leadership, and interns. You know, I tell all teachers that we change children's futures, and that's a wonderful opportunity. It's an awesome responsibility as well, but thank you for your work this year, and I know you probably have to go home and do some more planning, so feel free to get a plan and go. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you. Next item in my section is our student achievement report, and Dr. Schnorr has delegated to 2 of her worthy members of her Department of Instruction. So you want to introduce them?
All right. President Babcock, Dr. Thompson, members of the Board of Education, I'm very happy tonight to be able to introduce Dr. Tom Edgar and Dr. Laura Swanlin to present to you the Student Achievement Report for this past school year. It is a reflection of the work of our department as well as the work of all of the teachers and staff and everyone in District 15. So what you'll be seeing is the culmination of everyone's hard work from the past school year, and I think you'll be pretty happy with the report.
Trying to see if we can get some technology going
Sure.
here. There we go. We got it.
Come on up.
Okay.
Right. So I guess this is a testament that you really can do anything with an iPhone these days. So as Dr. Schnorr mentioned, thank you, Dr. Thompson, members of the board. My name is Tom Edgar. I'm the new Director of Assessment, Accountability, and Programs. This is my colleague, Dr. Laura Swanland. And this is one of the important meetings that I feel is always worthy of pause. There's a prominent researcher who's really emerged in education. His name is John Hattie. And one of the things that he has really emphasized in his research, he's summarized hundreds of thousands of research articles. He's talked about the importance of teachers knowing their impact on kids. Knowing your impact is essential. It allows you to take pause and recognize the things that are going well, and it allows you time to question those things that need to be questioned and maybe adjusted. And I feel that this report is something so important because it looks at the year in retrospect, and it allows us to pause and understand our impact, decisions of the board, implementation by administrators, and the strategies that our teachers use. This is especially exciting because I feel the information in here is a very positive reflection upon our activities over the course of the year. And I think you'll find it to be especially notable the success we've had with our students, especially with our transition to the new PARCC exam.
So we're starting off by showing a summary of the key findings and what this report will be showing in more detail. So highlights include how District 15 has performed very well on the PARCC exam compared to the state, how our students' growth has been really positive and aligned with the national norms in growth over a year, and about how our students, when they're tested in their native language in Spanish, have also performed pretty well. So this first graph shows the demographic information for the district and gives a highlight of how we have done over time. So some of the highlights of this is that our minority enrollment has steadily increased, and we now have like over 75 languages spoken in the district. Another highlight is that the students who come from families in low income has rapidly increased over time, with now about 50% of our students coming from low income families. And some other highlights include that our students who are limited English proficient has stayed relatively stable on here, but a note of that is we are exiting a lot of students with limited English proficiency. So we've had about the same amount of kids enter the program as exit, which is a very positive outcome for our students. And finally, students with IEPs or individual education plans has also maintained stable. So even though our demographics have shifted, we've kept a similar amount of kids who are deemed to be students with disabilities, which is a testament to our ability to service the diversity within our district.
The first area to really discuss is student achievement, and this is a summary of the different assessments that have been used to show the outcomes our students have achieved in the spring of the year. We use the State Accountability Assessment, PARCC. We also use several internal assessments, one of which is called the Measures of Academic Progress. It's something that's been consistently used across the district for a number of years. And for those students who speak Spanish as their primary language, we use the Logramos Achievement Test, which measures reading and math achievement while being given in their native language, which gives us a unique view of how these students do when they're not being tested in something they're not yet competent in. The first slide here illustrates how we've done on the PARCC exam. This has been color-coded, so each of the red dots represent the district. The blue columns represent the state's preliminary results. On the left is the English Language Arts exam, and on the right is math. The most important thing to note here is that the district has outperformed the number of students that have met and exceeded across the state. So we have a stronger percentage of students at each grade level in each content area than what the state has produced. It shows a real positive impact that our instruction is having on kids. Now, when we look at the changes that have occurred, let's go to the next slide here. Apparently the iPhone is not as easy as the regular one. These two slides, again, English Language Arts is on the left and math is on the right, illustrate the change that has occurred in the transition from the old ISAT exam to the now PARCC exam. The district is represented in red and the state is represented in blue. What the graphs illustrate are the percentage points lost in the meets exceeds categories in that transition. So lower is better. So you can see as we compare ourselves to the state in general, we have had a smaller change relative to the state. That's occurred especially in reading and has also occurred in math. The one point that appears to converge is grade 7 in math, but we feel that's an anomaly. It doesn't replicate itself when we look at the MAP test, and the pattern is so regular in all the other grades, it's not something that we're sensing is an actual result, but of course that's something to monitor to make sure that it doesn't occur next year as well. So this is a very positive thing, and it indicates that the curriculum that we're implementing in our teachers' practices have really had kind of an insulative effect on our students and have had a positive impact, especially when you look at the change the state went through compared to our change, which is much smaller.
Tom, quick question. When we measure against the state, does it drill down even farther to say the north, well, we're in the North Cook area, I think on the school board. Is there statistics that break down the state by down further south or west or north?
So the state
overall average, but
the state, the way it works is that they generally provide the broad state as the comparison. When you look at the Illinois report card where the information is publicly available, you can select comparison districts or comparison schools. Right now, the state has not released their full state results, so we can't make any larger comparisons across other districts or schools or whatnot. Okay. So all we have at this point is just the broad statements, but it is possible. So this is our results on the MAP test. Now the MAP test is given in the fall and again in the spring. This is how we've done in the spring. Again, the red dots are the average points earned. The MAP test uses this thing called a RIP point, and it just represents how far along on a scale the child is. And the blue represents the national average. So again, just like the PARCC results, we can see that across the different grade levels, we've either met or exceeded the national average in both areas at every grade level, which is very consistent with the pattern that you saw on the PARCC exam. It gives us great confidence that we're doing very well and that we're having a positive impact. So these two pieces together show that we have a convergent set of information that our students are doing very well on average and across all the different grade levels. So this slide is unique in that it is looking at the Logramos achievement test. So for students who are not yet English proficient, they are often asked to take exams that are written and presented in English. The Logramos is different in the sense that it is written and presented in Spanish. So for our students who have Spanish as their dominant language, this test is considered a more fair representation of their skills because it doesn't look to show the impact of a limited English level and achievement levels at the same time. The way this test is presented is on the left is reading, on the right is math. The district has a long-standing criteria of determining grade proficiency, and this shows that between 87 and 75% of students are meeting that proficiency mark in reading, and 77% are meeting that both in math. Now, the math slide was just added. We just got it today. We had some difficulty calculating it, but I thought it was important to put on there because I didn't want to leave that area out. This is really a very successful result. It's much stronger when we look at it in the student's native language than when we look at it in English. The other part to mention is as they move in grade levels, we tend to see a lower result. That's not because students are losing ground or not achieving at the same level. What this typically reflects are either those students who are having difficulty acquiring English. Most students after the first couple of years will exit. Or it's students who are new to our district. That's actually quite a few of them. So these are new move-ins who have not had the full District 15 educational experience. And so they're showing up on the later grades as not quite there. But that's just because they're new to the education system, or at least to our education system.
So these graphs provide a summary of the Explore exam. The Explore exam is what our 8th graders take going into high school, and it's aligned to the ACT. All Districts 211 freshmen take this exam in 8th grade. So what you're seeing here is the first graph on the left is District 15 scores compared to the District 211 average on the composite. And the composite is like the average of all the subject areas on the Explore exam. So this graph is showing the lines over the last 3 years, and really you can see that there's basically a lot of overlap. Any changes over the last 3 years with the District 211 average is only like decimal points, which isn't very meaningful. So basically it's showing that over time in the composite area, our 8th graders are entering District 211 with the similar skills as students from the other districts that go to 211. On the right is a breakdown of our past year's scores, so 2015 scores in the subject areas. So District 15 students are in the red, and then the blue is the average for District 211. And again, this shows pretty comparable scores in each of the subject areas, with reading being a little higher for District 15 students compared to the District 211 average on this exam. So now we're going to look at some student growth. And this is again that math test that we went over earlier, and how it works is that students take this exam in the fall, and then they take it again in the spring. And what we look at is the difference between the fall scores and the spring scores to determine growth. So the red dots are the District 15 student average for each grade, and the blue is the national norms. And what this is on is that scale of RIT. So each grade has a different level of points that students are expected to grow depending on that grade level. And the left shows reading and the right is the math. And overall, again, we're very comparable to the national norms. We're a little bit lower in math on the norms, but within that same range, and in reading, we're higher in many areas than the national norms in terms of how our students are growing within the year from fall to spring.
So as we look at this, we see that the larger collective information really shows a very positive impact. We fared very well with the Park exam, certainly I think better than most districts had thought they would. We've done very well. We've shown a change that's been less than what we've seen across the state. Our internal assessment map has shown a very similar pattern where we have students doing as well or better than the national average across the content areas that are assessed. Our results in students' native languages, if they're not in English, are very positive, and our growth is very strong. We have several district actions that are aligned with the board goals that are noteworthy as kind of resulting and coordinated with this information. So we have a large curricular review and adoption process that is going on right now with math. If you notice going through this report, you might see that the English language arts area has a slight advantage. It's a little bit stronger in just the various areas. Both of them, both math and English language arts, are doing very well, but the English language arts area was doing a little bit better. As we're going through a comprehensive math adoption phase, this is really very much aligned with that. It shows one of those areas where you take a pause and say, we're doing great in ELA, we're doing great in math, but math could require some attention. So we've gone through this adoption process where we're looking at bolstering our curriculum in that area. It's very timely and very well aligned with our results. And I think it's worthy of noting, and we thank you for your support in that endeavor. It seems like that's going to be a very positive thing for the district. We also have a larger comprehensive curricular review process that also incorporates reading and science and other aspects that is ongoing. Those, of course, are things that we always want to strive to improve. We're doing very well, but we never want to rest because we want to make sure that our impact is maximized. The other aspects, of course, as you know, is we're examining the possibility of different preschool offerings or different types of programming that might have an impact upon students earlier to make sure that they begin their learning journey on the right track. That's something that's in process, and we're exploring at this time. And finally, we've developed a series of district-level teams to look at our school improvement process and ways that we can address the achievement gaps that have historically occurred in an effort to try and close those and make sure that we're maximizing our teachers' effectiveness and supporting them as they are working with our children. That's the larger achievement report. I think it's a very positive impact. And as you look and think, you know, the impact that the decisions the board has made, the implementation of the administration and the teachers' practices, I find this information to be a very positive message. And I personally want to say I'm very proud to work with a number of staff and for an institution that are doing the great things that this report would indicate that are occurring.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments?
In the past, we were able to demonstrate, because we were using a standard test, that those students that we had from kindergarten through 8th grade were the ones that did, we were able to bring them up to where they should be. And you alluded to it, saying that you have move-ins and you're looking at them and showing a lower score, but now that you're using a new test, will it be a while before you're able to demonstrate that same proficiency for those that you have for their entire education?
Yeah, the park transition, of course, limits our ability to look at things long-term. The importance of the park, though, is unlike the ISAT, the park was especially designed to try and provide more sensitive information about student and district growth from test administration to test administration. So I think, you know, that will be an advantage to us, but we've lost a historic lens of what the ISAT results have been. We still have the MAP test, however, and we use that internally to track individual students, individual grades, and things like that. So we do have some consistency across the years, and we continue to want to use the MAP test. What's important is that we look to have a convergence of information, so we're not just basing it upon one type of test. But I don't see that as a particular downfall at this point, but it does require us to kind of start over in that area a little bit.
Yeah, just a couple of questions. As far as like year to year, I mean, I think this is very good information. I thank both of you to presenting it in this way. But, you know, in terms of how the district is doing from year to year, in the sense of, you know, I know that park is new, so it's hard to you know, we're not going to be able to have anything to go by. But even with the MAP test, when you show it as compared to national averages, what, if any, do we have any data, and what does it show in terms from year to year? Like, how are we doing in comparison to national averages last year, the year before, compared to now?
Mm-hmm. So we do have that information. It wasn't summarized on here. One of the things we look for is the percent of students that meet growth targets. Now, the MAP test, what it does is it allows us to look at each individual student, and based upon their unique starting point and their grade, it gives us a projection for what amount of growth they're expected to achieve. And when we look at that, we see a relatively stable and comparable trend to what we would expect across the nation. We didn't provide that information here because we wanted just to kind of give a snapshot of the last year that we've had, but certainly if that's something the board is interested in, we can provide that information for your review.
That might be a good idea. I don't know.
Were you surprised by anything with all of these results, all of these numbers? Was there anything that took you by surprise?
Well, I think there's really two levels of that. I'm new to District 15, but District 15 has a very good reputation. So in looking at the very overall positive results, I was not surprised by that. But I think there's been a lot of concern about what the PARCC test will display and show a district as. And I was really very favorably surprised by how well District 15 performed on it. I assumed that the state, everyone would do in a very different category of performance, and this is actually very positive.
And upcoming then, we will be taking the PARCC exams. Number one, they're here to stay. Number two, they'll be done on a computer as opposed to.
Yeah, right now we have a transition plan. So last year we did the paper and pencil exam. This year we've transitioned to having our 7th and 8th graders take it on the computer, and then the following year we'll be transitioning it down into the elementary grades. So right now 7th and 8th grade will be online, and then 3 through 6 will be taking it paper and pencil.
I have to say, I'm certainly gratified by all the results, but it's one of the best reports that it was very easy to read, it was very easy to follow, and I really do appreciate the information.
Well, thank you.
It's very good.
And a very nice presentation.
Thank you.
Yes.
I agree. I have one question if we have time.
Please.
The action items that you have in your presentation are related district-wide. Do you have any individual school action items or plans as a result of the PARCC testing results?
So the School Improvement Committee started off as a district committee. And one of the things we've done is we've altered its actual process and meeting arrangement. So originally we were looking at how to update our school improvement process district-wide. The committee accomplished major steps in that in the very beginning of the year. Many of the things that are ongoing are already in good condition and don't require updating. There are just smaller things that we wanted to do based upon new perspectives from someone like myself. We did move the School Improvement Committee to a particular school to really help the principal address school improvement planning efforts there. One of the things that we wanted to do is, one, provide some support, but the other part was make sure that the updates that we are proposing work and work well. So we do have some initiatives in terms of supporting particular schools and using our school improvement process to do that. The other thing we've done is we've started to develop data templates for our principals so they have a more visual showing of their data for their school and how they're impacting their students. And several of the principals and I have presented to their staff and started to involve them in going through their school's information so that their essential questions can be asked. Because often the important part about data is not necessarily that it gives you an answer, but it begins an inquiry process. And through that inquiry process, you start to look for things that you might take advantage of or that you might want to change. So we've begun to really consciously try and promote that in our staff, and it's really been received very positively.
It's great to hear.
Dr. Swanlin.
Thank you.
Dr. Edgar, Dr. Schnorr, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thanks for your time.
The last item in my section is just a quick update on a couple pieces of information. For the last month, we've had our draft calendar on our website, and it was open for comments. We received one comment, and I provided you with that comment tonight, so you can look at that. But I think with one comment, I think most people were satisfied with the proposed calendar, and so I'm going to ask you later to vote on and approve the 17-18 calendar. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is, since we met last, Barrington High School had a student bring a pretty significant weapon to school, and they went into a hard lockdown. And we've had some other issues. Stevenson High School had a student bring a gun to school, and we've had some violence in the United States. We took the opportunity at our PACE meeting, which is our Parents Committee for Educational Excellence, that sends one representative from each school to the district office on Tuesday afternoons periodically throughout the year. And we took the opportunity yesterday at 1 o'clock to talk to the parents about our safety measures. And we had Officer Jeff Schley from the Palatine Police Department come and present, and it was very well received. And he talked about all the steps that have been taken to make sure that kids and staff members are safe in schools, that we've done everything that we possibly can think of to make sure that we could prevent any kind of thing from happening at the school, or in the unlikely event that something did happen, that we've got all the precautions in place to keep as many people and kids safe as possible. So I let you know that Jeff Schley was honored as the hero of the community by the chamber recently, but his work, along with Dr. Barbini and the safety committee, really has done a fabulous job, and the parents were duly impressed with the presentation and all the steps that have been taken. So.
Great.
That's it for my report.
Okay. Before we move on to the minutes, if there's anyone interested in addressing the board this evening, the green sheets are in the front lobby. Please pass them to Mrs. Becker, and that will be coming up shortly in the meeting. Number 5, we're going to reading and acceptance of the minutes. May I have the suggested motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the following meetings of the Board of Education: November 11th, 2015 Special Board of Education meeting, November 11th, 2015 executive session from the Special Board of Education meeting, and November 11th, 2015 regular Board of Education meeting.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Babcock?
Aye.
Chapman?
Aye.
Eckert?
Aye.
Kuhn?
Aye.
Morrison?
Aye.
Seifert?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to board discussion and reports. Ed Red, Dr. Chapman.
There's a summary in the packet, which I'm not going to go into, and I'm sure the board members that have interest can read through that, but there was an issue that came up that I think is significant, and certainly something that we need to watch at our conference, where we had new board members had to have training, and I know that we had shared a significant amount of information. But there was a concern raised, and earlier we talked to the board about the fact that the state has approved the budget for elementary and secondary education. But the legislators that were there expressed the concern because the money that's being raised doesn't match the outgo. Right now, there's about a $4 or $5 billion gap. So unless things change significantly, the report that we heard, which I think is pretty significant and could impact us, is that we are likely either to face one of two scenarios: either a significantly late state aid payments at the end of the year, or skipped payments. And I think, Scott, you remember, 15 years ago or so, the state just said, hey, we're not going to make the last payment. Right. So that's another
Very
thing that
significant.
really, and it's one of those uncertainties, and at this point still up in the air. Oh, and then also at June passed out, there's a report here which Ed Red monitors, and that's the federal legislation, the Elementary Secondary Education Act, which passed the House and was supposed to be voted on yesterday at the Senate. There's going to be some significant changes in terms of how that is administered, but we've got a year transition, so I'm sure the superintendent will keep us up to date as we go through that process. That's it.
Thank you very much. District 15 Educational Foundation, Mr. Seifert.
It's that time of the year if you want to pay tribute to your favorite teacher or administrator or board member. You can you can contact the District 15 Educational Foundation. Contact the District 15 Educational Foundation for that. And then Palatinopoly, we have plenty of those games for sale for holiday purposes for $5 through December 18th. That's it on mine.
Thank you very much. We have some board policy. Dr. Barbini.
Dr. Thompson, President Babcock, members of the Board of Education, good evening. This evening, I'm presenting 2 policies for primary consideration in terms of first reading. One of 2 steps required in order to pass board policy. The first policy, 7:130, deals with student rights and responsibilities, particularly and primarily in and around when it is permissible for students to engage in non-school sponsored prayer and or religious meetings at school. It basically adds additional language that indicates that these types of actions are permissible during non-instructional times, and it defines what non-instructional time means. This is particularly helpful for administrators in terms of protecting and preserving the rights of students while also not advancing or inhibiting religious practices in our schools. So I'm recommending that we, or that you consider adopting that policy after the second reading. The last time this policy was introduced to the board was December 13, 2006, so about 9 years ago.
I have one quick question.
Sure.
Is lunchtime considered non-instructional time?
Lunchtime is considered non-instructional time.
Then I'm a little confused by the last sentence, which says non-instructional time set aside by the school before actual classroom instruction or after actual classroom instruction ends. That, to me, says beginning of the day, end of the day.
I think we just could include
Can we
lunchtime.
clarify that?
Include lunchtime, yeah. We'll just put in parentheses lunchtime, so it's a good addition. Good suggestion.
All right, the second policy, 8:30, is community relations, visitors to, and conduct on school property. Additional language is being recommended, particularly and primarily in terms of additional actions that a community member may exhibit or participate in, particularly and primarily in terms of illicit substance, drugs, etc., that may lead to their removal temporarily and even permanently from participating or being involved in events in, before, or after school. There's also additional language in terms of when it is permissible for exclusive bargaining representative agents to meet with staff during the school day. The language there basically indicates that it is permissible when the building principal has been notified and when the meeting occurs with a school employee or a group of employees in the school building during free times of such employees. In terms of both policies that are advanced before you, I'm basically recommending this based on language that's given to us from the Illinois Association of School Boards. So this has been vetted out by school board attorneys that understand and know not only state law but federal law, and it's their language that has been advanced pretty much verbatim in terms of both policies this evening.
I did get a couple suggestions, one from our retired physician. I don't think he is prescribing medical cannabis at this point in time, but we need to look into that because maybe there's someone that has to, for one reason or another, have to take medical cannabis in the form of a pill or something at school, and we certainly wouldn't want to prohibit that if it was a medical necessity. So I think we'll look into that. That was a good suggestion. The other one was the use of the exclusive bargaining rights. I think we may want to spell out what are free times. And so I think that just make that a little more clear so that people know what they can do and what they can't do. So those are suggestions from Dr. Effer.
Yeah, I think that free time, in my estimation, would be time that staff is not being paid.
And I think that's
But that's not it.
No, I think that's the way we're going to look at it. I don't know. We'll talk about that though and see. We have, I suppose we'll talk about it. I think the lunch times would have to be unrestricted, but.
I just think, I think you're right. We could just clarify what.
But the planning periods, we have specific expectations of them, and one of them would not be for them to make political rallies. So we'll clarify that though.
Good.
Good. Moving, thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Dr. Pini.
Thank you, Dr. Pini. 12:13, new business, old business, other. Any new business? Moving on to citizens address the board. Mrs. Becker, no one? Okay. Moving on to action items, personnel report, item 15-1220. May I have the suggested motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the December 9, 2015 personnel report as presented, including the following recommendations. Recommendation for a last chance agreement for Wayne Canataro.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Chapman?
Aye.
Eckert?
Aye.
Con?
Aye.
Morrison?
Aye.
Seifert?
Aye.
Babcock?
Aye. Motion passes. Item 15-1221, approval of the 2017-18 school calendar. Suggested motion, please?
I make a motion for the approval of the 2017-18 official school calendar as recommended.
Second.
All right, just one point. There was one that was at our place. What's the difference between the two? Mr. Clerk, I couldn't see.
Usually you catch those things, Dr. Chapman.
I know, I
In, I think it was in July, it says 2016 when it should say 2017.
Okay.
And in
Gotcha.
in January, it says 2017, it says should 20.
So nothing in terms of.
Nothing
dates.
substantial, just a technical.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Eckford?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
Morrison?
Aye.
Seifert?
Aye.
Babcock?
Aye.
Chapman?
Aye.
Motion carries. Will that calendar then be put on the website?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 151222, authorization of certificate of tax levy. May I have the suggested motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the certificate of tax levy for 2015 as presented and to include the following levy resolutions: certificate of compliance with truth and taxation law, certificate of tax levy, resolution authorizing special education levy, resolution authorizing reduction of certain fund levels for the 2015 school year, resolution authorizing final aggregate tax levy of the year 2015.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Khan?
Aye.
Morrison?
Aye.
Seifert?
Aye.
Babcock?
Aye.
Chapman?
Aye.
Eckford?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 151230, the consent calendar. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent calendar? May I have the suggested motion, please?
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Second.
Roll call.
Morrison?
Aye.
Seifert?
Aye.
Babcock?
Aye.
Chapman?
Aye.
Eckford?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
Motion carries. Dr. Thompson?
There were 2 Freedom of Information requests and responses in the last period of time. On November 30th, 2015, a request received from Becky Quick, Project Specialist, Evanston Skokie School District 65. That response was sent today. On December 2nd, a request was received from Aaron Haggerty, Daily Herald. The response to that request was sent on December 2nd very efficiently to her. We received 3 checks this last month from developers. They provided us with impact fees from the city of Rolling Meadows. They were all 3 from city of Rolling Meadows. One was $2,973. Second was $2,784, and the third one was $1,392.
Thank you. Before we take a motion to adjourn, I know the board is going to be getting together, but if I could wish everyone on behalf of the board a happy holiday and a wonderful new year.
Okay.
Now I can, yes.
In reference to our website for response from the public, are we getting any other information, anything pertinent coming off the website, or?
You know,
I mean, has it worked out? as we
people seem
expected to?
very satisfied, and we've gotten a couple compliments, but it's been a very slim thread of
Okay.
things coming through. So we'll keep promoting it, keep asking for it. There
Great.
might be some other things that come up, but just one response on our "Let's talk about the calendar." That was it. So
Good,
I
very
think
good,
it's a vehicle for people. They just don't feel a need right now.
very good.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.